Hey, welcome everyone. I can see that people are joining in, so we will soon get started with today's lunch talk. But to give everyone a chance to join us, I will first start with a short introduction about myself. So again, welcome today in this lunch talk. It's the first one of this year. So I also want to wish you all, of course, still a happy new year and my best wishes for 2025 on behalf of the entire SciMingo team. So since it's a new year, I will also again shortly introduce myself. I'm Annelies van Dijk. I am the project manager of the SciComm Academy at SciMingo. And we at SciMingo, we are a nonprofit organization that wants to help researchers share their work with a broader audience. And we have various projects that we use or that we organize to do this. Specifically at the SciComm Academy, we organize trainings and lunch talks to help researchers take their first steps into science communication. And with the start of a new year, we're also launching our spring season of training courses at our SciComm Academy. And with these courses, we really want to help you create different tools to reach out. For example, we have a course on writing a popular scientific blog, creating a clear infographic, a poster. And this year, we're also for the first time organizing our podcasting workshop in English. So if you're interested in this or in one of the other courses, please check out our program on the website. I will share a link later on in the chat and also in the follow-up mail where you can find all of the details about all of the courses. And aside of the courses, we also have our monthly online lunch talks where we cover various topics related to science communication or research. And our next one will be on February 25 on fact-checking. And I will also share the details about this lunch talk in the follow-up mail. So with that being said, we're here today for our lunch talk about starting a science communication journey or career abroad. And for that, we invited Robin with us today. I will let him introduce himself shortly. But before we get started, I want to ask you all to ask your questions in the Q&A window or in the chat window, and we will cover all of them at the end of the talk. But don't hold back to already share your questions with us throughout the entire talk. So with that being said, please now join me all in welcoming Robin again. And Robin, the floor is all yours.
Thank you, Annelies. I will start sharing my screen over here. And Annelies, give me a thumbs up if everything works and looks nice. All right, great. Then we are ready to start talking a little bit about how it is to start a science communication career abroad. And it will be mostly sharing my own story, where I quit academia recently to go full on in science communication. And I didn't do that in my home country. I started doing it abroad. So today is a little bit about the pros and cons of doing that and the hurdles that I had. And I have a bunch of tips for you for this. So in this talk, I will be talking first a little bit about who I am, so you get to know me, and then I want to know a little bit about you. So it will be like 3 short questions that I have. So keep your phone around. There will be a QR code later on where I will ask you to just answer a few short questions. It's all anonymously and all of that. So it's just to get to know for the second part what the focus will be, because I will share in the first place my own story. In the third part, I will say how it was for me to leave academia and to leave my home country. And then for those who are interested also in starting up in science communication or doing at least more science communication, what would be my 3 pieces of advice? So let me start by talking a bit about myself. I'm Robin. I'm 32 years old, and I grew up in Hasselt in Belgium. And 3 years ago, for a academic uh, chance, that I moved to Denmark. I started doing a postdoc there, and 2 years ago, I started my own company in science communication. So if I should introduce myself, I would say that I have 3 main passions, and the first one is science. So I have a master's degree in physics and a teacher's degree, and then I started doing a PhD in biophysics and a postdoc also biophysics. But for that, I moved to Aarhus University, and here you can see me um, with me in the lab doing my thing. If you want to know where Aarhus University is, that is here on the map. So you see it's a map of Denmark, and most of you will recognize Copenhagen there. But Aarhus, it's just on one of the other parts. Is a part that is part of Germany. Aarhus is the second biggest city there. So that's where I'm living since 3 years. And if you're wondering what my scientific background is, so what biophysics is, how to combine biology and physics, I had a recent very nice project together with Minute Earth animation studios in the US, who made this beautiful YouTube video explaining electric bacteria, which is the stuff that I was working with before. If you wanna see it, just scan this QR code, or I'll share these links also afterwards, or Annelies will share them around. Second big passion of mine is beauty and aesthetics. I like different kinds of art, like music, theater, nature, pretty things in general. And I like to combine these things in what I do for science communication. So, for example, in this top picture, you can see me on stage. We're doing improv comedy, and I use a lot of these techniques from the improv comedy floor to give my workshops. And that's my second passion. I would say my third passion is teaching. I don't only like doing science; I like talking about it even more. And that's why I was a teacher in high school for a while. Now I'm a teacher in pilot school. I'm teaching physics to pilot students. I'm doing a lot of tutoring. But all of these passions came all nicely together in 2023, 2 years ago, when I started Robin Talks Science, my own freelance business where I talk about science, I teach science, and I try to do it with techniques that I learned from the theater floor. So, in short, what Robin Talks Science is about, it's actually pretty diverse. What I started doing since 2 years ago, and I like the diversity about it. But it all started in February 23 with this project called Bodem Leven. It is a citizen science project at Hasselt University in Belgium. And there we wanted to know more about the microbes living in the soil everywhere in Limburg in Belgium. So we asked 1,000 people with a garden to do some measurements in their own garden. And for that, you need to convince people to help in a scientific project. So it was a lot of communication involved. And I was super happy that I could be part of this project. But it means that before that project came up, there was no Robin Talk Science. So I needed to start a freelance business. And I have been dreaming about it for a while. But it's only when an opportunity like this comes that you say, okay, today I jump and I just try it out. So this is the way how it started for me, doing communication in this citizen science project. And another one followed, and I really like this being the bridge between academia and a broad audience. But from that, I started building websites as well. Research group who want to communicate also to a broad audience want to do it online. So I started helping building websites. Also organizing summer schools. This is me for 20 Chinese school kids in somewhere on the countryside in Denmark. So they wanted to learn about electric bacteria. So we sat together for a week and we digged in the mud and we saw what fun stuff was to learn about it. It was a super nice experience and something that I really enjoy doing, combination of this teaching and doing some small science projects. And then what I do with Robin Talk Science as well is I like hosting events. So if you have an upcoming festival or a talk that has to be hosted, I really enjoy warming up the audience and things like this, as some other stuff that I learned from doing theater. But I would say that I want to bring my main focus in Robin Talk Science in giving workshops. This is what I enjoy so much, teaching others about how to get a bit better at science communication. And the workshop that I've given the most is confident pitching, bringing your whole research project together in a 1-minute pitch and how to do it in a confident way. So it is a lot about learning about our own bodies, how our body language tells a story as well, next to the story that we tell in this 1 minute. So in these kind of workshops, I try to work together with PhD students or postdocs who want to be better at pitching in front of everyone. Another one that another project that came out of this was a collaboration with Science Melting Pot, another startup here in Denmark, where I like using more techniques from the theater floor, more over how we tell stories and give workshops in that. And then a lot of people came and asked me at some point to get better at also communicating online. So I started making a workshop in a workshop on social media and LinkedIn for dummies. So how to get better at your social media presence, and from that spark some more collaborations and grow your network. So this is Robin Talk Science in a nutshell in 10 minutes and a bit of who I am. Now I want to know just a little bit about who you are. And again, it's 3 very easy questions. So take out your phone and make sure that you can scan QR code. If you cannot scan a QR code, just go to slido.com and fill in this code. But I just want to know, where do you live? If it is your home country abroad, or maybe you're thinking of moving abroad. So I'm curious to see who is in the audience today. Okay, we have a half of people who moved out of their home country so far. No, half of the people moved abroad, and some people are also living in their home country and thinking of moving abroad. Very interesting. Yeah, we have a majority of people living abroad. That's amazing. Maybe you can give some extra tips in the end of I will be sharing my story today, but I'm always curious to hear other people's perspectives when we come to the Q&A in the end. Yeah, so we have just the majority of people living abroad, and then quite some people of thinking moving abroad who live in their home country. Nice. Then I want to know if you work in science communication. You can say, no, I'm just listening. Maybe some people say, I'm doing science communication as a hobby. How are you thinking about it? Wow, so many people work in science communication. It's incredible. Or they're at least the fastest one to respond. The people working in SciComm, they're ready with their QR reader. Yes, some people, 22% are like doing it as a hobby, and some people are just listening or maybe want to do this in the future. Amazing, thank you for answering. We have a majority of people working in science communication and a majority living abroad. Amazing. So this talk will be exactly for you and also for the people who are thinking about it, for sure. Then a lot of you can actually answer this. Statistically speaking, we should have some science communication people working abroad. So I want to hear what you think are the pros and cons of doing science communication abroad. And you can just write a word or a thought in here. They will all just appear in a big word cloud. Feel free to make it just a short answer. Language is an important, language barrier can be a bad thing. can be a hurdle. Having no network yet, definitely when you move somewhere else. For some of us, we start from scratch. What is a pro? This is a very nice one. Fresh eyes and ears. This is also what I will focus on later on, like how you refresh yourself, how you reset for a second, and can rethink what it means for you. Language barrier seems to be the biggest con, and then cultural differences can be a pro or a con. I will give you an example later on how it is a pro for me. Connecting, having native English is a strong edge. Native English speaking is a strong edge. Yeah. More opportunities compared to my home country. Mm-hmm. Someone who moved away from Italy and found more opportunities now. Yeah. Different biases, bring ideas home. Oh yes, I will have an example of this as well. When you move somewhere else, you try out something and you come with fresh ideas back to your home country, maybe. And knowledge of different cultures can be a pro, is what someone agrees with. Yes. Thank you for your answers. I will give today how it was for me to leave academia and to leave my home country. And then we combine this into the last part where I say, if you start up and some of you are having this idea, then I have a few pieces of advice for you. But first, how it was for me leaving academia. Well, most people here work in science communication, but for those working in academia, and for those working in science communication, probably as well, they have been had this question: academia, should I stay or should I go? And for some of us, this question came louder than for others, or for some it came more frequent than for others. So it is no different for me. I also had this question at some point in my life already during my PhD and later on during my postdoc, because I really enjoyed teaching and I enjoyed the science communication part of it so much. And although you have these options during academia, and I'm very happy about it, I'm also happy of taking the step now and moving away from it. And for me, I would say the biggest positive in that would be that successes for me, they don't take 3 years anymore. I can have a new project coming up, a workshop that is planned, or working on a website or something like this, where I'm in constant interaction with others in trying to improve it. And usually a project takes a few weeks to a few months. And this is for me, at least for my own personal health, a big plus, because I really enjoy having daily satisfaction out of my job. And sometimes working in academia, you know that projects can take a long time. So a failure today might lead to a success later on. But the fact that you don't have to wait for it that long was, for me, the biggest pro of leaving academia. Another one for me is flexibility in work. Now, academia is already pretty flexible in your working hours. Depends of course on what you do. If it is experimental work, sometimes you're pretty bound to being in the lab at specific times. But in general, this really improves with being a freelancer. I have work coming in waves. Sometimes it's very busy, and sometimes it is not busy at all. But choosing where I have the projects that and when I want them is for me a big plus. Not only in my work time, but also the kind of work that I do. I can switch my focus along the way that I go, and this is not always possible when you're stuck in a certain project in academia, or at least it goes over a longer time, I would say. Also, for me personally, this freelance science communication business is less competitive, even though we're now on the private market, and maybe people who are working on the same thing might be yeah, might seem like rivals to you because they might want to do the same kind of projects as you. But in general, at least the science communication community in Belgium that I know is super friendly towards each other, and we support each other, and we try to, if there is a new project coming up and it's not the best fit for me, I would pass it on, and the other way around. We have a really nice community, and SciMingo is part in trying to build this in Belgium. So it's super nice that we come together, we meet together, and we have this kind of friendly relationship towards each other. And for me, academia, leaving academia is also putting a step into the real world. This also depends very much on your project. I was doing fundamental research, which I loved and I think is super important. But for me, working with a real world problem, or an acute problem of, we need to communicate to 1,000 people in the next few months. How are we going to do this? How are we going to engage them? This for me was such a relief. The fact that I have this more daily interaction, and that a success, I wrote it before, that a success doesn't take 3 years. Here you are solving these real world problems in the first place, and not a problem that might come to humanity in 50 years from now. Which again is equally important, but for my personality, it didn't fit as well. And maybe this is a question you can also ask yourself when you're thinking about leaving academia or not. What is it that makes you happy on a daily basis? For me, that was having daily satisfaction or appreciation out of my job, and that I definitely have today. Things on the downside, I would say, is financial stability. Okay, it goes in ups and downs. I don't really know if in the next few months how many projects will come. So it's part of the adventure. I like it personally, but it means that there's no paycheck in the end of every month when you just start up. So financial stability, and on the other side also isolation. Sometimes starting up as a freelancer can be lonely, for sure, when you were in an academic environment where you were surrounded by a lot of people that you call your friends. The moment you start working on your own, you're also on your own. And even though there are workshops like these, it's still in front of a screen. Or sometimes it is working together with people somewhere else. You have some online meetings, but most of the work, most of the creative thinking and so on, is still something that I do on my own. So this isolation, I would say, is also a downside of why I miss my friends from my time in academia. But academia taught me a lot. In the first place, how to handle facts, I think, and how to also be critical about them. So this critical thinking is really, I think it is the most important skill in life. But it's really something that you train well in academia, because the moment you follow a presentation from someone else and you are getting really detailed in a topic where you also feel comfortable in, you start doubting things that are around you. And I think it's a good reflex that to have in life. So this critical thinking and working with facts is definitely something that academia taught me, together with failing. Experiments don't always work from the first time or the second time or the 11th time, and the same it goes in a very broad environment. Sometimes you're stuck in a certain in a certain way, and then it only works when you come with a blank page and start from scratch. And for me personally, failing is something that I really learned in academia, how to get a bit better at it, and how to be less perfectionistic about it. What academia didn't teach me, though, it's okay, we have handling facts, but how to communicate facts, that I mostly learned from people outside of academia, or people who were working in academia and left it. It is something that I think could be more part of our curriculum. As well, we have the critical thinking and the really narrow, really detailed, focused thinking. But this global thinking, I'm talking about me personally again, is something that I sometimes missed. And stepping into the real world, you think about problems in a different way, let's say. And where academia taught me failure, how to fail, it didn't really taught me how to be resilient to failure. So it's still something that, in the end, I think, okay, it is. You need to have this thick skin, and it's something that you either develop or that fits with you, or that doesn't fit that well. So happy to have been in academia. Also happy for the reasons why I moved out of it. Let's try to do the same for a beautiful country that I grew up in Belgium. For me, this question didn't come until I had the opportunity to do a postdoc, and I heard similar things from a lot of people working in academia, that they would prefer a job in Belgium. Although it's been a tough decision for me to move abroad, to move away from family and friends. For me, I would hands down do it again instantly. So 3 years ago, Robin, I would shush and say just try it and jump out. And in the first place, it's because it broadens your horizon in a way that I cannot explain in this workshop. You can only experience for yourself. And a lot of people here living abroad, let me know later on if you agree with it or not. But I think that in general, this cultural getting into a completely different culture and meeting so many new people really helped me in standing stronger for myself and understanding the world better. Also, for job-wise, it really makes you think of what unique skills do you have. You look with fresh eyes and with fresh ears, is what someone wrote, and this is also very much true for me. I wasn't really aware of specific things that we are good in Belgium, or that I learned back in Belgium when I moved to Denmark. An example is this science communication skills, that there are actually many different ways in which you can learn, which you can get workshops, which you can read about it. So I think that it's a good moment where you can also sit back and think, what unique skills do you have when you come to a new place that this new place doesn't have? Denmark doesn't have a place where they sell French fries, so maybe this could be a next project. But well, so in general, here are some ideas of why leaving Belgium was interesting for me. Also, to get more funding opportunities, you come into a new world where things work in a different way. So I thought about funding and about funding for projects in a different way. There are just different possibilities in Denmark, which made me rethink also in which way I should do things back in Belgium. And this is also something that someone wrote, bring ideas back home. So for me, this was trying out a concept that I had in my mind somewhere else. And I will give you an example in a little bit on something that I tried and abroad, and that I want to try back in Belgium one day. On the downsides for me are three words. One is also isolation. Sometimes it can be lonely when you move abroad. And I happen to be in a super nice environment at my workplace, where I met a lot of friends from the start. But it can be hard. So I would say, if broadening your horizon is the main one on the pro side, isolation can be a tough one on the con side. And then something I personally really hated is that stuff works completely different, and some things in some things in your home country. Let's say my Belgian bank is still after me because they think that I'm doing tax evasion for moving abroad or something like this. So sometimes, like these small things of all the administration hurdle that comes with moving abroad is a bit of a pain. So just contact me if you're making a move to Denmark at some point. I can definitely help with that. Yeah. And then isolation, taxation, and conversation is the third one. This language barrier that definitely can be a tough one if you want to integrate in a new place. So I would start by learning the language from day one and being more consistent about it if I would start off from scratch again. But I'm super happy in Denmark. And why? Because in the first place, I would say it's a very healthy working culture. Like things work really well, and the country is a rich country, and it means that people also have a healthy work-life balance, meaning that in regular jobs you work 37 hours, including lunch breaks, and your boss does the same. So it's a very egalitarian country where your ideas are equally worth to the people who are above you in hierarchy. And this hierarchy doesn't, I never felt it to really exist. It's a very flat kind of society. You can meet the crown prince when you're in a bar, for example, or you can see, like, I don't know, a minister biking by. This is something that I really like about Denmark, and also the fact that everything works. It's a rich country. The language barrier is very small. You can very easily speak English, and nobody really makes a problem out of it. Sometimes it makes it even harder to learn Danish. So it can be a con, but mainly it meant that I could connect with everyone around me, with people with Danes itself, but also internationally. So having a bit of an international mindset, I feel, is really true in this country. You meet so many people from different cultures, also because they feel welcome in this country. I don't know. For me, having the possibility of this international mindset comes with creating the right environment for it, and I think Denmark does that. Good. Time to take a sip and to come to my last part, where if you have the idea of starting up in science communication, or maybe you are working in science communication and you still want to learn about how it is for someone else, I have 3 pieces of advice for you on what to take into account when you start up. And they all seem very obvious, and some of it will sound like a sales talk, or I don't know, business talk or so. But it did help me so much, keeping these things in mind, and it's something that I built over the years, and that I understand better now. So what I understand now from what I did in the last 2 years, these are my 3 pieces. And let me start off with saying how important a network is. And with network, I mean anyone that you know that in some way could be related to the job that you want to do. People who can put you in contact with other people who can help you out with doing your bookkeeping or whatever. But also people who might be interested in taking a workshop from you and working together with you on a project. For me personally, as for these first 2 years, 80% of my jobs so far, they were coming from my own network. And it would even be higher if it would be tipped by someone in my network. So I cannot stress enough how happy I am to have met so many people in the past that put the trust in me to give one of my first workshops with them, or to work on a website for them. Although I'm just starting up with this Robin Talk Science. So think and go back in people you met through academia, people you met in your own friends group, and whoever might be able to help you in the future in finding your next project. So at least one that you can add in your network is me from today. So if you just scan me on LinkedIn, I will also give my LinkedIn profile later on to you. But if you scan the QR code, you can already get friends with me, and then maybe at some point in a few years, you meet someone who's also moving to Denmark, and wants to get some information on how it is to take that step. or it can be that, I don't know, you have an interesting project that you need some help with or whatever. It is in this way that I think I got most of my jobs so far, by having people that I met in my network and from maintaining them. So for me personally, LinkedIn was a super helpful tool where I kept in contact with a lot of people. And some of my jobs some of the workshops that I give are from people who remember me, who connected through LinkedIn at a workshop a year ago, and who asked me now to give another workshop soon. So they keep in contact only when they remember your name or when they see you appearing socially. In this more global world, it is the only way in which we can stay connected. So that's why I think LinkedIn for me, and a network in general, it was so important. And you can already do that from people who are living. I see most people are living abroad, but I'm focusing now on a few things that are happening in Belgium, where you can learn about science communication. Of course, there's the SciComm Academy, but there are also the floor is yours, Principii, Let's Talk Science, places where you, if you're working in academia, or also outside of academia, where you want to get better in science communication. Here, I also personally met a lot of people who I am still in contact with today, some of which I did a project together with. So stay in contact with those people. If you meet them at one of these events, try to connect online. And it's always nice to fall back to something later on when you are working in science communication. Particularly for science communication in Belgium, people freelancing in it, I would recommend BE SciComm, where freelancers who are working in science communication, we come together once a year, and there are also some events during the year where you meet all the others being in the same boat as you. And in general, as I said, it is a very friendly community. This is also a good opportunity where you find maybe your next job within talking to people there.
Very shortly gonna intervene here. It's not only so even if you're not yet a freelance science communicator, but you're just interested in getting to know more about science communication, it's a really good thing to think about to join these events. It's also about building your network in this point. So sorry for a short.
Right. No, very good, Annelies. Yes, exactly. I have been more more involved in the focus on science in freelancing, but indeed they are much broader than that. So it is a very nice community to be part of. That's my first piece of advice: your network. My second piece is don't think that you can do everything on your own, or at least that didn't work for me. But my second piece of advice is get help in doing marketing and doing bookkeeping in taxes. I have been searching for help mostly within the people that I knew already, within people in my own network, and those were mostly with an academic background. So thinking outside of this science bubble or the outreach bubble really helped me in getting better at these different things. And sometimes you don't have to start from scratch. I'm very grateful that in Denmark, at my university in Aarhus, we have a place called The Kitchen, which is a place where they help you if you want to start up, leaving academia and you want to start up on your own as a freelancer or in a smaller business. Doesn't matter in which way, but they help you with finding bookkeepers. They help you in doing your marketing, and they give all this help for free. It's just part of the university. So if you are working at a university yourself and you're thinking about maybe a job in science communication, then there are a lot of possibilities already. A lot of you live abroad, but for those living in Belgium, at KU Leuven, in Ghent, and in Antwerp, you have these organizations that are already part of the university, where you can also knock at their door and ask for help in how it is to start up in the first place. It is not only about how it practically works, setting up a business and what you have to do for your taxation. It is also about all these other things that come with it. How do you do the marketing of it, and how do you sell yourself? And something that we haven't been trained in at all in academia. And one of the things that I really liked from the kitchen, they also give workshops where we learn the basics, the fundamentals of starting up a business. And now it's really gonna sound like a business talk, but it's focus on your customers and to really think about people you will be working together with. Building a bit of a profile for yourself really helped me. So thinking of who are the people who might be interested in the service that I offer, who might be interested, who are the ones that might need some science communication in their life. And the first rule when thinking about your customers is don't care about you. They have a lot of problems on their. They won't try to find a way in which to hire you. Maybe if they're your friends, yes, but in general, they have their own struggles, their own problems, and their own challenges that want to overcome. And if one of those challenges is something that you can help with, then you focus on this challenge itself, not on the things. It's not about your idea. It's about their potential struggles and how you can help them with them. If helping others is as important for you as it is for me, it becomes so important to put yourself in the shoes of who you are helping with. And a general rule is as well to start focusing on a narrow group. If you want to start up yourself, then try to find the people in the first place that you connect the best with, or that you can find yourself in their situation easily, and then expand from there onwards. I was giving my workshops mostly for PhD students in exact sciences, and this is also how my workshop was built in the first place. And now it is getting more broad than that. So now it is also building in a bigger way. But starting with a clear focus really helps you in finding the value for your own business as well. And then thirdly, for when focusing on the customers, is doing a survey. I had this idea that I thought was brilliant, but then when talking to people, you notice that there might not be the right market for it. I had this idea of communication inside academia, how a PhD student can talk better with their supervisors, for example. And I had the idea of PhD coaching, where a PhD coach can help a PhD student or a postdoc in this interpersonal communication on the work floor. Seems after a survey that yes, there are these struggles, but there are also already solutions, and this is not the best possible solution. So instead of starting building something up from scratch, going and talk to people who might be willing to use those services of yours are so important. And then you start off the right way instead of making something that you are very passionate about but nobody cares about so much. This focus on customers is not something that I do as that I try to do with my freelance business. It's something that science communicators in general are very aware of. Think about the floor is yours, with their slogan, complex research, clearly explained, or Julie de Smet, who also a science communicator in Belgium. Make the difference with your research. She writes as a tag in her on LinkedIn. This is about trying to put in one sentence what you can mean for someone else. And for me, it is giving workshops, learning about science communication by using techniques from the theater floor. So 2 pieces of advice so far: your network and getting help in marketing, bookkeeping, and so on. And then my third one is even easier. That is to just start. I have spent so much time perfectionizing something that didn't exist yet. I've been thinking about a lot of ideas. For example, this PhD coaching that I just shared, but also the idea of starting a podcast, for example, is something that in the last 5 years I had on and off, and in which way I wanted to do this. But instead of perfectionizing it in my head, it was so much better for me to go out and try it out. And in the end, I figured out I didn't want a podcast at all. I wanted something else, and it was a live event. So my idea was to have a podcast with a scientist and talk about the stories behind the research in a short way, in a comedic way, and combining it with improv comedy. Seems that I don't like to do it so much online, so I started doing it in a small setting. Here in Denmark, in Aarhus, I did kind of this, but then on stage where I went to in conversation with a scientist, and then had improv comedians who act out a day in the life of the scientist. Then combined with illustrations and with a cartoon that was made for the scientist. A lot of fun to do, but something that I only figured out how it actually should work the moment I started doing it. So sometimes we have so many ideas, and we try to first have it perfect before trying it out. But as this very famous quote, my dad likes quotes a lot, and this is one of his favorite quotes that I really think that fits very well in here. Ever tried, ever failed? No matter. Try again, fail better. Samuel Beckett says it in a very nice way, that it's only by trying that you fail, and that next time you try it again, you will fail in a better way. By doing it, you learn so much more than trying to perfectionize it in the first place. And I think finding the confidence in doing it sometimes is a boost that you get from someone else. Me, by talking to others about it, I felt the drive to finally start it off. And from the Science and Beers project, I learned so much more. So just giving it a try, just starting. If there are people who are into space exploration, like SpaceX is exactly trying to do this, building rockets as fast as possible, making them blow up in the air, and then building a new rocket from what they learned from blowing up this first rocket. Blowing up is not the purpose, but it goes in the process because because we want to learn from building it and not learn on paper. If you want to just start, then there are also a lot of things already when you're working in academia, and now I'm focusing also more on people in Belgium. If you want to just start, there are a lot of possibilities where you can already try out the Wetenschapsbattle, the Science Battle, the PhD Cup, Science Figured Out. Maybe you don't like to be on stage, but you like to write more. Try to write an article once for a popular science blog, or try something out on Nerdland Festival, for example. These are more Flemish, Belgian specific projects, but I'm sure that in the place that you live, there are a lot of competitions and popular science articles and so out there where you can that you can contact, and that you can just give it a try and learn from potential failure that might follow. For me, if I would start again, a few last remarks. Okay, these were my pieces of advice, but if I would go back in time to Robin 2 years ago, and he wants to start off in science communication, I would tell him 3 more things. And that is, I should be more on social media present. It's something that I know is important, but I don't always take the time for it. But planning it into my calendar to put more effort and time in it, and also helping out, having help from others, would have really helped me from the start. Also, learning the language from day one and being more consistent with it. Language barrier was a big one that came up earlier. So this is what 2 years ago Robin should do better. That's for sure. When you don't want to do science project for a broad audience, you have to speak the language of the place where you live. And then thirdly, keeping a clear focus. I'm very diverse with different projects that I do in Robin Talk Science, and I like it, But when talking to others and when doing marketing, the focus is so important. And with that, I will end this little talk. Here were my three main pieces of advice: your network, getting help in marketing, and just start. And if you want to build this network, or you want to talk about this more later on, please reach out on LinkedIn to me or find me on my website. And I happily chat more about this journey of mine, and I'm curious in yours as well. So thank you for listening. I give the word back to Annelies.
Yes, thank you, Robin, for this very nice talk. I think you hit on important points and people can really take notes. I will also share the recording of this session in a follow-up mail. So if you couldn't take all of the notes, you can revisit them then. There's one question already in chat. Somebody asks, how do you build a network abroad? Because I'm living abroad in the UK and I would love to move to Spain, Italy, or Portugal, but I don't have a network there. I think you already highlighted some important points, but maybe you can again list a few things if you really believe you don't have a network at all yet. What would be
Yep.
your first steps?
Yeah, exactly. I think some of the things, like when I'm talking about the jobs that I had myself so far, I have to say that most of my jobs were from the network that already existed. So a lot of the jobs I was doing in Belgium, even though I was living in Denmark. Some of the work I can do online, some of it I can travel back to Belgium to give a workshop, for example. So it's also about the network that is already there. But then what I try to do when coming to Denmark is not thinking that it is only on I don't know, startup meetings or whatever. These are of course also important. If there is a place for a startup community, go there and go to their events. But I think in general where I had then most of my own network is was from my workplace, and then also from going to events after work, like going to a theater night, for example, or to a music festival or so, and getting to know people there, even though they might not be like potential collaborators for a job or so. All of these small people that you already know or that you get to know through other events, they might be a next link to someone else again. So I think for me, building my network was pushing myself a little bit and into going to a lot of these events and seeing what is already there. And let's say that you have a workplace in academia or so, seeing what is already getting organized and otherwise organizing something yourself.
Yes, if I could add on that, I would also say, as you said in your latest slide, use social media as well. Try to share your experience or follow people that are in your field or in the field you're interested in these countries, and maybe start building online first. Okay, some other questions are coming in. Did you have some issues with the visa support yourself?
Um, no, I didn't, because I moved from within the Schengen area, and I'm a bit lucky coming from an EU country and moving to another EU country, so I didn't have visa problems. I had a lot of other problems with like also the Belgian taxation office needs to refund me some money from 2021 or so. Like these kind of problems I have encountered. Um, moving to a new place, getting to know how a new country works was tricky for me. But there again, usually there is something getting organized by a community living already there, either an international community. Someone also gave this in the comment, like many cities do international community events, so like a sports club or something like that. So definitely when you check these out, but at my city here in Aarhus, they also have a welcome to internationals, where they really talk about the difficulties and how the Danish system works and how Danish culture works as well. So do check out if this exists in your country, and they definitely also help with like visa issues and things like this. My first guess would be to just go and check at the municipality where you get to live. Yeah.
Somebody else in the chat indeed adds on the previous question that many cities indeed support international community events, and joining a club also helps. Like if you like to play football, something where you can build another network.
Yeah.
There's a very technical question in the Q&A. I'm just going to ask it. Maybe you have some help there. Of course, he or she thanks you first for the insightful talk. And then goes on, as a non-EU academic person, how can I shift to freelancing science communication when I need an employer that can support my residence or work permits in a EU country? I myself have an idea, but I don't know if you can add something.
I have no real practical advice for that. I could put you in contact with another person. So if you write to me on LinkedIn, I have someone who had this problem themselves. So maybe we can talk about it further online. But I don't have it on the top of my mind how to have an employer if you move to an EU country. There is the possibility. It depends on if you move with a partner, then you can put dependency on a partner and then still have your own business. This is a possibility. If you don't have a job, like if you don't have like an employer in a new country. But yes, feel free to write to me. Yeah.
Somebody else, again, thanks you for the interesting talk, and wanted to know, do you have any tips on making a portfolio or starting a portfolio when you have no experience yet? So if you don't, or if you don't have anything to share.
For me, I also thought that when I started up as in freelance business that I had no portfolio whatsoever. But sometimes portfolio you can think of it in a broader way. I know now that things that I use for workshops now are things that I learned as a 10-year-old kid. Like some of these things that I learned, for example, from theater. Maybe you are part of maybe you have a specific hobby that others don't have that you can incorporate in the work you do. Or maybe you won a prize in a sports club 10 years ago that was a prize for a team effort or so. This team effort is something that you can use as on your CV or on a kind of skill that you acquire now. So building a portfolio also starts with looking a bit broader in what you can already be proud of, even in your personal life, and maybe some elements that you use from it. And then I would say my third piece of advice of just starting with something. If you don't have a portfolio yet, just trying out in a very in a small environment and trying to put that on it is already something that you can be proud of.
I think that's already very helpful things, and then you can build up from there. Maybe a last question before we round up. As a PR person, it's easy for me to do PR for my clients, but almost impossible to promote myself. I cringe, I get imposter syndrome. I cannot even get myself a website for this reason. Do you have any tips on how I could overcome this?
Yeah, I know. I also had a very hard time with it. I saw myself always as a modest person or trying to be modest, but then the moment you need to do this self-marketing, it becomes really hard. And I would say two pieces of advice for me. I'm just thinking as if I'm completely doing this for a friend, or even for a client if you want. Like someone, if you are in PR as yourself, try to put yourself outside of it and look at your own person as someone that is not you, you trying to do it. So see yourself as a friend, be a friend with yourself. Now it becomes another kind of talk, but be a friend to yourself and try to do something for them. And how would you do PR for another friend of yours? Try to do it with this friend that is also yourself. I think, yeah. I think befriending yourself would be a first step. Yeah.
I think that's a very nice thing to end this talk with. It's a nice quote. So once again, thank you, Robin, for all of the tips and tricks, and everyone for listening and for your other questions. Hopefully they inspired some other people as well. And I'm sure otherwise the talk did as such. So I hope to see you all in our next lunch talk. And Robin, I hope to see you around on social media or once in Belgium on one of the events. Have a nice afternoon, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thank you for attending and have a very nice day. Bye-bye.